it comes to the motives. Like I can want to win because I want to crush you into the ground, or I can want to win because I really think we have something of fantastic value. And I really hope you'll say yes to us because this is going to impact, like this could be transformative for your
Mhm.
leadership or for your church.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Leading Smart podcast, season 3, Leading in Real Time. Where are you, Tim?
This is real time. I am sitting on the 14th floor of a hotel in Vancouver, Canada. I did a staff retreat the last couple of days with the church up here, and it was on a remote island. So I had to take a plane and then a train and then a car and then a ferry and then a water taxi to get to the location.
Wow.
And now I'm doing the reverse trip and I will be home this evening.
That could be like a movie about a consultant. Planes, trains, automobiles, water taxis, ferries, and back again.
Exactly.
Well, I got to see a couple photos from that trip, and wow, that place looked stunning. I'm so jealous that you got to be there. And also, we both love that client, so I'm jealous you got to be with them and I wasn't there.
It was beautiful, and they are beautiful people. They just hired a couple new women on their team who I got to meet, and they fit in perfectly. They're just amazing leaders as well. So it was fun to hang out with them.
That's so cool. Well, you and I were talking earlier about, you were like, man, I've got some things that are front of mind for me about what I've learned starting my own business and doing Leading Smart full time, which this is year no, are we in year 3 or 4? Year 3.
Yeah, we are at the end of year 3. I think, 2 months from now, we'll start year 4.
That
Or
is wild. So anyway, you were reflecting on some kind of lessons learned and I was like, okay, these are awesome, but also I don't think this just applies to running a business. I think this applies to leadership in general. So, what brought this theme or topic front of mind for you? Was it just kind of reflecting as you're entering year 4? Why is this top of mind?
So yeah, conversations about the types of ways and also personal experience in organizations I've been close to, and just the various types of ways that people run their businesses. And this is not just true in like we're in faith adjacent, church adjacent businesses. Leading Smart for sure is. You guys at Ready Network branch a little bit
Mhm.
off from that, but what's interesting to me and in the faith-based for sure is the sense of like the different mindsets of a business, and one being very kind of competitive and cutthroat and almost a sense of scarcity, a sense of like uh there's only like X number of customers, and if we don't get this one, then I guess the opposite would be, as we were talking just a few minutes ago, like the opposite would be like a attitude of abundance, an attitude of
Mhm.
generosity, an attitude of open-handedness, of being, of realizing like I don't have to tear someone down to build my thing up. I don't have to destroy
Mhm.
someone else, take them out of the field. So, but it can kind of like there's a lot of things about business and about just running something that kind of like seems like it's always trying to pull you towards the ultra competitive, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, 1000%. Because I think leadership in general, but definitely running your own business, or, let's say you're a founding pastor, a lead pastor listening to this, or even a second chair leader in that integrator role, it's very vulnerable being that person where at the end of the day, it starts and stops with you.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is one of the reasons why it can so easily pull you into that scarcity mindset, because it's easy to get defensive because we want to defend either our knowledge or that we're doing things the right way or that we're the best, or whatever is important to us. If we feel like something isn't going as well as we want it to, it's like, oh, it must be everyone else's fault. Like, that's the human condition, right? Like, human nature is to point fingers and figure out what could the external threats be that are holding me back, rather than looking inward and just being like, okay, what can I learn from this, and how do we have an open mind about it? So I feel like this also kind of goes along with your principle of believing the best. Like, they're similar.
Yeah, I think so. One thing that brought this to mind, it wasn't too long ago, a friend said, "Hey, have you ever met so and so?" And it's this person is someone who runs a organization who does not everything like we do, but similar stuff. And I said, "No, I'd love to." And they said, "Oh wow, like they deem you to be like a ultra, one of their biggest competitors." I'm like, "What?" Like it didn't even it didn't even like calculate in my brain as because to me it's like, there's 300 what I think 350,000 churches in this country, like in
Mhm.
the United States alone. I think there's plenty of churches like we can all kind of, and that's kind of my mindset is like to be a bit open-handed. One of the things that brings me back to kind of believe the best, one of the things that brings me probably greater satisfaction than just about anything is like making introductions and just seeing what happens. Of like just
Mhm.
like someone's doing this over here, someone's like, hey, I'd love to get into this, and hey, let me link you up to this person over here, and then just see what happens. And without any kind of like, hey, I need a referral fee, or hey, like a little payback if they actually sign on or whatever, without
Mhm.
that kind of sense at all of just being able to introduce and see what happens. And I don't want to be stupid about it, like I think you can be stupid in business and give away all your, secrets, so to speak. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's not what I'm talking about because I think there's like worthy value that you have in your business that we have at Leading Smart that is like super important, and there's a value on it, and it's something that can help us support our families and the people that work with us. But I do think there's just a difference between that open-handedness and like I'm not going to assume that you're trying to rip me apart. I'm gonna believe the best in your motives, and I'm gonna express that in my motives.
Mhm. Well, and we haven't talked a lot about this. Maybe we should do a whole episode on the values of leading smart. But one of the values of leading smart is generosity. And everything you're saying is a mind. We often think of generosity as like money or tangible, like giving things. Um, and which you do embody that. I've been the beneficiary of that. I think often about like even sitting by my sink in my bathroom is part of my maternity present you gave me, which was like a whole year of gifts. And so anyway, there's one of those sits by my sink, and I think of you and Faith every time I see it. So I've been the recipient of that, like the tangible generosity. But I also think what you're talking about is a spirit of generosity with knowledge and connection. And yeah, you do that so well rather than holding on to things. Why is generosity a value of leading smart?
I think because I mentioned earlier that like there's this pull towards competitiveness, cutthroat. We start that when we're little, right? We're just like these are my toys, my things, my M&Ms, whatever it is. And so there's like that just pull towards that. So I think to have a actual stated value of generosity, it's caused me several times since starting the business here is like, okay, what would be the generous response to this? Maybe not my natural response, but what would be the generous response to this? I think is important. I think it's like to me, it's a difference between like short-term thinking and long-term thinking. I think, one way is like it's about the immediate win. It's about getting this agreement, this contract. It's about, it's kind of like a transactional thing versus like, okay, we're playing the long game. Like relationships compound over time. Reputation is everything. I remember a friend of mine, I think I've maybe talked about this in the podcast before, but a friend who's maybe 20 years older than me. And I remember when I was probably 40 and he was probably 60, he was talking about, he was getting ready to sell a business. He was talking about social capital. And he said, Tim, I've got all of this, like forget the money, forget the business, I've got all of this equity built up, these relationships built up over time. What am I going to do with my social capital? Like, I don't want to just die with it. Like, I want to pass that along. And that to me, that's like just a example, like just an open-handed, generous view of like we're just gonna like we'll let God worry about the what happens with this and about helping us kind of like make the numbers make sense. We're just gonna have an open-minded, generous philosophy, attitude, posture.
Something that I've been man, oh, I know what it was. I was interviewed on a friend's podcast. He hasn't released the episode yet, but he is going through scripture and interviewing different people about different questions that God asks through scripture. And one of the conversations that came up about that was like, I grew up in a theology, and whether this was like intentionally taught or not, my what I feel like I took into adulthood was um, stay and wait and make sure that you are in God's will. Because if you step out of that, that's bad, or like you're going to get in trouble, or you're in sin, or, all of these really bad things. And it wasn't until I was a freshman in college where I read Mark Batterson's book, In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day. And the principle that I took away from that book for me that was so transformative was if we as believers are believers in the God of the universe, we should be the biggest risk takers and the biggest opportunistic because if we really do believe that the God of the universe has gone before us. And so what I hear you say is, again, like having to combat the human condition or the human nature response of hoarding and scarcity and, well, this was my one opportunity and I've got to maximize it. And so if anybody gets in my way, then, shame on them and I'm going to take them down. Like, what? That is such small thinking to like the world is so big.
Yep.
Let's say somebody does, quote, steal your idea. There's so many other ideas and opportunities to go after. And I'm saying this for myself so that I can probably listen to this 6 months from now when I'm in a different headspace.
Right.
But yeah, I've just been thinking a lot about that, and I think what you're saying is inspiring me to of just like how it's even related to our view of God, and just like, being grateful for the opportunities that we've been given and to realize that there are even more waiting for us rather than that scarcity small thinking.
And yeah, like to me, it's like it's fear-based versus we've been using the word abundance-based, but like a sense of like a fear of missing out drives urgency. Like if I don't get this now, if I don't grab this now, I'm going to lose it. So there's a constant pressure to outpace others. And then this kind of scarcity mindset rules our decisions versus like open-handed abundance. Like there's enough to go around. Like you trust that the right opportunities are going to come. And I think that generosity breeds reciprocity. And I think about this, I mean, we're talking in the context of business, but I think about this in churches. We say that we're not competing with other churches in town. We're all on the same team, but we often don't act like that.
Yeah.
When someone from our church leaves and starts attending that church across town, or someone from our team decides to go work for another church somewhere else, and there's a sense of like, there can be a sense like where that drives you to like this closed fisted, like I'm gonna hang on because I can't lose that person. And it's like, no, that's a scarcity mindset. It's like thinking through just like a kingdom lens of we really are on the same team. We're doing different, things a little bit differently, but we're on the same team for the same purpose. So if we have that open-handed kind of kingdom-minded, generous posture and believe it's nothing we're gonna stop working, but God's gonna figure this out. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because we often get, it's tempting to think about bigger is better, more numbers, more money, et cetera, but that does not always equal success or equal health. And yeah, getting clear on what has God called you to do? What has God called your church to do? What has God called you as a leader, or who he's called you to be? And what does becoming more and more like that look like? That's so good. Well, I'm inspired, Tim, thinking about, leading with more abundance rather than scarcity, or more generosity rather than fear. And for me personally, I always have to, I mean, this, we've worked together long enough where I'm so competitive. I just love to win. And that's not inherently a bad thing.
No.
There are good qualities there, but it's so good to have conversations like this, or to be reminded that, to be reined in on that, okay, great. We've got to pivot and we're going to learn something through this. And that has been refreshing working alongside you at Leading Smart in that way, because there have been, before, whether it's pressure I put on myself or in organizations where we had these really big goals. And if we didn't achieve them, it felt like we, got in trouble. And so it's just been so refreshing to see you really try to live this out as the leader of like, okay, what does this mean? And how are we going to respond and not just react?
Yeah, there's some it comes to the motives. Like I can want to win because I want to crush you into the ground, or I can want to win because I really think we have something of fantastic value, and I really hope you'll say yes to us because this is going to impact, like this could be transformative for your
Mhm.
leadership or for your church. And so that doesn't mean I need to crush my competitors, so to speak, into the ground. And so it's like a motive thing, it's a heart thing, and it's probably nothing we ever completely like, oh yeah, okay, got to check in that box. I'll never be like that again. It's like, no, we got to like work on this every day.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, are you ready for a random segment?
Oh my goodness, let's be random. Let's do
Let's
it.
be random. Okay, I'm curious to see if you have a response off the top of your head or not. What is your favorite or maybe most impactful is the better phrase, gift you've ever received?
Favorite or most impactful gift that I've ever received. So one comes to mind. This is so random. So the team at Nouveau Church in Columbus, Ohio, when I was at Willow, we had done some stuff with to help them get started as a church. And one time they came, their whole team came over to my house and we cooked a meal or whatever, and they brought a gift and it was wrapped in a box. I opened it. It was a Notre Dame, like a full size Notre Dame helmet signed by Rudy, like the real Rudy, with like a little inscription on the side of it. So like that just blew me away and it's pretty cool.
Mhm,
And the second thing that came to mind is more less of a gift and just more. So the last 3 years for my birthday, and I've got one coming up here in 2 weeks. On my
mhm.
birthday, my wife has rented out a couple courts at the pickleball club, and we get like 15, 20 people to go play pickleball. And that's just, I'd rather have that than gifts any time of the day. It's just so amazing.
Are you gonna do it this year?
Yep. Plan for
That's
this.
awesome.
Y'all can
So,
join June 14th.
I still have yet to I feel like I've still yet to play, like, a real game of pickleball. Like, I've hit the ball around, but,
Yeah.
anyway, I need to do that so I can play with you and Faith one time.
You would have fun.
That's awesome. Okay, for me, it was I had a friend in high school. So I was a theater kid in high school. I'm sure no one is surprised to hear that. And I was obsessed with the musical Wicked when it came out on Broadway with Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. And so I can't remember what year it was. Maybe like my junior year or so. I had a friend who had a basement and they like had like, made cutouts of, on cardboard of, like, what looked like boxes, like New York City's. Basically, they created, like, a cardboard box version of New York City in their basement, and then that was when, what was it, like, Napster or whatever? Is that what it was called? That you could bootleg,
Oh
music
yeah.
and movies? So they like somebody, like, on a camera or I don't even think iPhones existed at the time, but had recorded the original Broadway show. I mean, it was a horrible quality, but anyway, it was there. And so we watched, that and with, like, feeling like we were in New York City. And that it was just so thoughtful and very I love experiences. I would take, like, an experience any day over, like, a physical thing. And so that was really meaningful. So that was my favorite gift. That was for a birthday in high school.
It's like they knew exactly uh,
Yes.
who you are and what you would love.
Yep, exactly. Well, cool. That was a fun random segment. Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, make sure you go to leadingsmart.com and you subscribe where you can stay updated. We send out our weekly email where we talk about our podcast, our resources that we post on our blog. And then we're going to be releasing our dates for our gatherings coming up very soon. So head on over to leadingsmart.com, subscribe, and you can also book a time on my calendar if you want to talk about anything to do with your church or leadership or board governance or succession planning or staffing and structure. We are here for it.
And one more thing, just a shout out, congrats to our podcast producer slash social media guru, Alexis and Tim. They just had their first baby girl, Lily Mae, just a few days ago. So congrats to them. And I know they're at home enjoying this new life and getting used to it. And so we have Anna the Great who's helping us with production and all the stuff in between. So
She really is Anna the Great. That's the perfect name for her. I love it. All right, we'll see you next time, everybody.